Sahana vavatu, Sahanao bhunaktu, Sahaviryam karavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We have finished the first section of the text, and we're going to enter the second section of the text. So anything that you would like to ask since last session, from yesterday, anything that's on your mind? Someone did ask the question, what is moksha? Moksha has two definitions. The first is you are free from what you are not. Okay, all this time we thought we are something. So this is a freedom, recognition, clear clarity between what I am and what I am not. So first definition of moksha is freedom from what I am not. All this time, the I has been put in the wrong place. And therefore, that place which has been the ahamkara, and the ahamkara is what goes through pain and pleasure. And therefore, since I am inside the ahamkara, therefore I experience pain and pleasure all life long. And this becomes a situation whereby the person will look for a way out. And the only way to look for a way out is by looking for things, right, in this world for some recluse, some relief from the sense of smallness. Because the intellect is giving you notions that I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, someone else is better than I am. Our memories fail as we grow, and so we say, I am not as I used to be, I'm not as sharp as I used to be. Our mind or emotions can sometimes throw us off, and therefore, since that's where your I is, right, the individual is constantly kind of going by the whims and fancies of the changes of the I sense. And therefore, by discernment that this I sense has a reality, but it is seen, it is mithya, and it is seen in the presence of the real I, who is the ever witness of those changes, who is the ever witness of those modifications. And the second definition of moksha is, suppose we stick at definition number one, and you say, oh, okay, so why should I do that? Next life, I'm going to get reborn and do the same thing again. So the second definition of moksha is, you're free from the cycle of rebirth. Okay, so it's two definitions that complete this term liberation. Because what's the point of helping yourself? And I mean, there is some point here and there, but suppose you help yourself and you do all of the right things, only to be born next life round and do the exact same thing. So this is that's why moksha is something that is a pursuit, and it's so desirable, because the individual comes to a point and they say, this is okay, but I desire the limitless God. I don't desire, upadis. I don't desire big worlds or big jivas. Is that which is limitless, without boundaries, and therefore the individual then pursues this goal. Someone also asked me, so what about these multiple paths? Such as path of jnana yoga, path of bhakti yoga, path of karma yoga, path of Raja Yoga. See, all of these paths have their place. So there's no question of putting them down. You just have to understand that every path is meant to get your mind to a certain point of clarity, to a certain point of focus. Because the mind that comes into the world is indoctrinated with notions. And these notions have to go through some kind of a reorientation. So these yogas, such as Raja Yoga, which is actually just meditation, helps your mind to kind of silence it for a little bit, because it's always being bothered about all of the things that it has to do. And then we have Karma Yoga. You change your attitude in reference to your actions. So it's not something that you do new. It's doing exactly the same as you're doing right now, except you align your likes and dislikes in the name of Samanya Dharma and Swadharma. So therefore, now what does this do exactly in your psychology? All our life, what are we doing? We are exposing our likes and dislikes for the sake of me. right? Because I want to make myself happy. So it's just reinforcing your sense of individuality. So when you start to use those likes and dislikes for the sake of the betterment, contribution to the society, then it's no longer about me, the I sense. Therefore, it reduces this pull that it's all about me and things have to go my way. Because suppose someone like that goes inside a class and now they come with this notion it's all about me. And we tell about moksha, then moksha becomes for me, right? The I sense. So the person has to go through this journey. The second is devotion. As I said, devotion, it's kind of a misinterpretation that devotion is a practice, individual practice. Actually, bhakti involves jnana yoga, that's what we're doing, self-knowledge. It includes karma yoga, and it includes meditation. All of the yogas put together equals bhakti. So bhakti is that which is an expression of your pursuit for God. And that expression can be through whatever means it is available for you and that you are ready to pursue. But ultimately, all of these pursuits are only for the sake of getting your mind to a pure state, to a relatively mature state of mind, that by the time you come to the knowledge, you are understanding things like that. You're understanding things. And that's why we need jnana yoga, because the problem is the knowledge, the reality is already right here and right now. You don't have to produce the ocean or the water, you only have to discover it. To discover the ocean and the water, I have to understand what exactly is the ocean amidst these forms, and we say that's intelligence. That's organizing all forms together, making them what they are, giving them their life for what they are, right, in the past, present, and future. And one more reality that is being missed, which is Sat and Chit. And that reality is the intelligence has no reality apart from Sat and Chit. Therefore, we're only bringing two more things, just like with this iron ball, which is under the influence of the fire. Suppose it's glowing. And someone has to come and say, you know, all your life you've been confusing, looking at this as one thing. You've been looking at the iron ball and the fire as one thing. And then the teacher says there's actually two things. There's the iron ball, which changes according to your day-to-day experiences. And there is something that illumines this iron ball, and that is the fire. And then you say, well, how do I know what illumines? How do I tell the difference? Because it's very hard for the seeker to do this. And so then you say, well, consciousness is that which is ever present. It's invariable. It's invariable amidst the changes that are coming and going relative to how you feel about yourself. So how you feel today is very different to how you feel tomorrow. So what's the I sense? What's the definition of the I sense? Yeah, that which keeps on changing. Let's make it more personal. Make it more personal. What's the definition of I sense?
Me doing things.
Me doing things, yeah, me enjoying things, okay? So opinion about I. Opinion about myself is the I sense. Do we have an opinion about ourselves? Yes. When do we not have an opinion about ourselves? That is because I sense is never apart from consciousness. And therefore, once again, because you know that there is an opinion about yourself, implies there's a presence of that which is other than your opinion about yourself. You understand this logic? Therefore, there's two things when it appears like there's only one. So again, all of these paths are wonderful. Bhakti yoga includes everything. Karma yoga is a way of life. That means I align my likes and dislikes according to the rules of the game. We call that dharma. And when I receive the results, then I understand those results are coming from this infallible order, which has been running for eons, way before you and I were born, and will continue running this universe right after you and I are gone. So this is why we say this order is infallible. So when the human being comes to the world, they think, oh, I have to fix people. I have to fix the world. But this world has been operating long before you were born, and it's been just fine. And therefore, the individual understands, I'm not really here to fix the world. I'm here to correct the relationship between I and the I sense. And therefore, I can then do my little contribution in this world for the last until the last moment. Next section, 3 types of jivas. Okay, so we already have pratibhasika, vyavaharika, and paramarthika. So we'll just add one word at the end, and we'll say jiva, and also there's going to be paramarthika-jiva. So when it says the 3 types of jivas, don't think of it as, there's a paramarthika-jiva out there, there's a pratibhasika-jiva. It just wants to discern one jiva who goes through 3 states.
Just a little reminder what jiva is, sorry.
Sure. So this is what I was going to explain. Jiva in Sanskrit just means sentient being. So if I just say, so is a plant a jiva?
Yes.
I'm glad you said yes. Why is, okay. Anything that has stimulus or response to the environment is a jiva. It is a very rudimentary jiva, but the plant still is able to find the sun and dance to the sun. Anything that responds is a jiva. Is the bacteria a jiva?
Yes.
Is the sperm that's trying to find the egg a jiva? Yes. Ludwig?
Do they have a subtle body, plants? Do they have a subtle body?
Everything that is a jiva has a subtle body. Okay, so because a subtle body is required to respond to the external stimulus. So therefore, when we talk about the 3 jivas, sentient beings, that which is capable of responding, then when we talk about paramarthika-jiva, please don't think of it as some special being who is it just means, right, reality. It just means existence, awareness. So, but it wants to kind of use this model between these 3 jivas. So the pratibhasika-jiva specifically will mean the jiva that you create in your dream. Right? So we all create our own jivas. You create your own version of yourself and everyone else in your dream. That created is pratibhasika-jiva. The vyavaharika-jiva is this jiva right now that's sitting here, that's speaking. That which appears in your dream is called the pratibhasika-jiva. So when I say you create, I'm talking about your mind creates. So therefore that's the pratibhasika-jiva. And the one that asked me this question is called the vyavaharika-jiva. And that because of which this person, vyavaharika-jiva, is known to have asked the question, that which illumined this vyavaharika-jiva for having asked the question is called paramarthika-jiva, in other words, the awareness. So this whole conversation is in the presence of one drk, one awareness. Consciousness enjoys the capacity to manifest the universe. And this capacity, we said, is Maya Upadhi. And what does Upadhi mean? Superimposition. Other words, please. Projection, superimposition. That which as though makes something else appear like it's not. Okay? That which as though lends its attributes onto something else. That's a specific definition. So for example, the pot is upadhi. It is as though lending its potness onto the clay. So the clay seems to have taken on the form of the pot. So the clay seems to be limited in reference to the pot, in reference to the upadhi. Okay? And the clay is called the upahita. Upahita. What is the upahita here? The clay. That which as though borrows attributes or takes on attributes of the upadhi. Now, has the clay actually taken on the attributes of the pot? No. But because there's such an intimate connection, it seems like it's taken on this much. So therefore, now imagine the whole reality is nothing but clay. Right? Everything's clay. Your heart is clay, your lungs are clay, you are clay, everything. And, right, one little upadhi obtains as Radhika. Another little upadhi obtains as, right, Meena. Another upadhi obtains as a bird. So the upadhi as though limits the content of the universe. Therefore, from every single person's standpoint, it seems like I am limited. But what's the I referring to? It's referring to the upadhi, because I've not been told about the content, which is because of which the upadhi exists. So when you get pointed out, you say, so my focus has been on the wrong place. but I have no existence apart from the content because of which I am. In this case, it is the clay. Therefore, when we say Maya Upadhi, because of its presence, when it seems to condition consciousness and make it appear like this fan, make it appear like this shirt, it's happening right now. This is what Maya Upadhi is doing to consciousness. Everything is consciousness right now, and it seems to be very, very real because of what Maya Upadhi is doing. Just like how this Upadhi is very realistically conditioning this clay to look like a pot, a mere pot. Now, from this Maya Upadhi, we said the 5 elements come. The first one is space. So when these 5 elements come, then these 5 elements produce what we call a jiva, a sentient being, and it produces a world. And therefore, this jiva is obtaining in consciousness. And this jiva comes with an intellect which doesn't know the nature of who it is. We explain this because it's covered. It's called avarana shakti, it's covered. And because it's covered, it takes itself this much, innocently. I am this much. Therefore, it starts to live a life according to this limitation. Therefore, a jiva is that one who manifests out of the out of the Maya Upadhi. Maya Upadhi makes these 5 elements. 5 elements construct you, the person, right now. And because you're pervading, you are in consciousness right now, and you've never been told, right, what is the nature of reality? Naturally, this is all I am. Let's go home. This is all I am. So when you come to class, you get told, no, there's one more reality. The invariable I am, I am, I am. Everyone knows that I am. It's just normal. And then Vedanta says that is the final reality. There's nothing after that. Therefore, the person stops seeking because they always thought that it's some special thing out there in the space. I'm supposed to feel blissful. Just ordinary awareness that you have been enjoying since your birth, but never really kind of focused on because it was so close to you. Remember, that which is very close to us, we take for granted. Now, there are 3 kinds of jivas. The first jiva says, I'm a body-mind. And this kind of jiva has fear of death. Because if this is all you are, you know this is going to end one day. And therefore it lives, we call this in Indian philosophy, chavarka. Chavarka means all I see is all there is. That means based on my perception, that's the final thing. When that thing goes or gets destroyed, there's no more existence. Now imagine living like this, thinking once you die, there's no more you. That's the end of that. What kind of a motivation is it going to have? Let me maximize my gains in this world. Let me cheat you. I don't really care because at the end of the day, I'm out. I don't exist. So you can see just one little deviation from the truth and the whole life changes completely. The second kind of jiva thinks I am a causal body. Now, when I say causal body, we don't have this language in English. All this means is I am going to survive the death. Right? They may not know what exactly survives. In Vedanta, we say what survives is the causal body, right? Your sanchita, right? Your results of past actions. That's what survives. So you ask this person, are you afraid of death? And they tell you, no. I am just a traveler. Suppose they don't say that. And you ask them, are you afraid of death? And they say no. And they're very genuine about it. And you're like, wow, this is a wise person, right? Because, a wise person has a different relationship to death. But if you dig deeper, it's because their eye is placed in that which travels from one life to the next to the next. So they know their body is going to die, but there's something in them that says, no. There is a continuity of life, and I will gladly continue. So therefore, if I ask you, are you afraid of, I used to ask this to students, are you afraid of death? And some would say, no, I'm not. But then if I bring the inquiry, why exactly are you not afraid of death? And then if you investigate, some people will discover it's because my eye was in that which travels from one life to the next, to the next, to the next. And what is that which travels? the I sense. And therefore, one has to ask the same question again. Where is my I really placed? Is it placed in that which travels? Or is it understanding that which travels is in the presence of that which doesn't travel? And that's my real nature, what doesn't travel. All-pervading consciousness, all-pervading existence. Okay? The third kind of jiva is the one who understands that all that is here is Ishvara. All that is here is God. And this person is called a jivatvam. Jivatvam means, this tvam, whenever you hear the word tvam, it just means the state of being. Therefore, jivatvam, we'll just put one more word, pratibhasika-jiva tvam. So this means the jivatvam means the state of being a person, which is incidental. It's a projection, as we discussed. It's maya upadi. Therefore, the third person understands, right, I am the invariable presence, and this jivatvam, the state of this jiva, or this jiva-hood, is only incidental. So that's what tvam means, jiva-hood, the state of being a sentient being. It's only temporary. Okay, and the first two kinds of jivas, that means the body jiva, I'm a body, and I'm that which travels. Those two kinds of jivas, they always get a new body, and that body always comes with an intellect, and that intellect doesn't understand who or what it is, and because it doesn't understand and it cannot discern between the real I and the I sense, the ego I, because it can't do that, it has a sense of smallness, and because it has a sense of smallness, it desperately wants to relieve itself, wants to gain a sense of freedom. As we said, we all only do things for one purpose, for the sake of no otherness. That's what happiness really means. In this moment of being happy, there is no sense of otherness. There's nothing in this moment that I need to complete me right now. And that's what every person is chasing in this world. Therefore, what's everyone chasing? Advaita. Look at this. Everyone is looking for Advaita, non-duality. It just means no sense of otherness. So even those who are arguing Advaita, they're arguing to kind of have no sense of otherness. Like our, tradition alone is right. No other tradition is correct. No sense of otherness. So Advaita is not some, philosophy. It is just simply speaking the facts. It's speaking what is. Because this person wants this no sense of otherness, then they pursue, and what do? They manipulate the vyavaharika. Because that's how you pursue things for your happiness. You have to manipulate things, you have to build a house, you have to, just manipulate people, hopefully not, right? You have to manipulate the world for one's sake. And when it comes to yoga, as I said, with respect to yoga, there are some sects in yoga, and what would they do? If the ordinary person is manipulating the vyavaharika, then the yogi more or less is doing what? Manipulating the vyavaharika mind. One's manipulating the external environment, the other is manipulating the internal environment. What are they both manipulating? Drsya, seen. You see this? Because the knowledge of the drik is not there. Therefore, even a yogi, someone that is, sophisticated in their practice, can fall for this. I want a still mind, a quiet mind, a mind that is, sattvic. And how do I do that? Let me move this channel up and down the spine 1,000 times, in a year, and let me just continue that. I've done this myself for about 2 years, and I know how amazing it really feels. Right? When you get these practice, as I said, because when you get initiated and you do this with all sincerity, you're like flying. You're like, wow, everything's just so beautiful, right? And people look at you like this, and what are they going to assume? That's an enlightened person. But you are actually walking with nothing but a calm, beautiful, peaceful, sattvic mind, still not knowing the nature, who's behind all of this feeling. Who's awareing this beautiful sattvic mind? Who is that I? It's not even there. In fact, when you feel good, the inquiry doesn't even start. It's only when pain comes, then we start to ask the questions, how do I get out of this? How do I discover the solution? So yoga as a double-edged sword. It can help you. It can also give you a false illusion of solitude and tranquility and even liberation. Yeah. So therefore, what's the difference between those who stay in that sattvic position and those who have that viveka to snap out of it? Think about how complex this gets. Because what more do you need? You feel amazing. Why not just continue that? And then Ishwara's grace comes in and says, no, you have to continue your journey. Yesterday I said, like a snake, sheds its skin, it never looks back. Because there's something pulling that snake out of its skin constantly. And that is what we call God's grace. And that grace is earned. And how is it earned? By aligning oneself with the laws of the universe, the laws of the order, Ishwara's laws. That is why Dharma is so important. That's why. Without Dharma, there's no Ishwara's grace to point me to the right direction. Good. So the question was, is it not possible through meditation to know the truth? It is possible if that person who is coming into meditation is bringing in the knowledge, and therefore they're meditating on that knowledge, which is keeping with what is. If you just meditate, then you're bringing in the very same mind that has never ascertained the nature of who it is. Therefore, you just bring in ignorance into the meditation and silencing the mind. So in that case, it is not possible. Yeah. But there is this conception or misconception that meditation can suddenly, some special meditation can send you there or solve the problem. This is not possible because the person who is going inside the meditation doesn't know anything about the nature of I. So no matter how many times you ask, who am I, who am I, who am I, who am I, the very notions that you're going to get are the ones you've always been entertaining since birth. So therefore, look at this. I'll answer it in a different way. Chapter 6 in Bhagavad Gita, Dhyana Yoga. Why is it chapter 6? Why not chapter 1? What comes in chapter 2? The self-knowledge. What comes in chapter 3? Karma Yoga. That means first learn, understand the nature of reality, then move into the world and live it by understanding all that is here is Ishwara, aligning with the rules of the game, and understanding whatever comes to me is coming from this order. And if I want to deepen it even more, what then? Chapter 6, meditation time. But what do? First thing, spirituality, meditation. That's why so many people have a problem with it, because their minds is not ready and they're walking with an ignorant state of mind. Therefore, they're going to only entertain the very ignorance that has been entertained before meditation. See, picking and choosing, if Bhagavad Gita is the word of Krishna, so I'm saying, no, this is not good enough, this is good enough for me. So I call the shots. I'm smarter than Ishwara. That's why we need humility. I'm not smarter than Ishwara. Ishwara has the knowledge. And I can only follow the program and ultimately succeed in that. So it's not about picking and choosing, but rather having that humility to follow from A, B, C, all the way to Z. And what does this jiva do? They find themselves in the jagat, which is a combination of 5 elements. And these 5 elements keep on being manipulated left and right. So the whole thing is 5 elements. All the jiva is doing is just rearranging the combinations of 5 elements. And that is what we call samsara. That's what we call a life of becoming. Becoming what? Becoming something that the 5 elements were not yesterday. The journey becomes one of fulfillment. So the whole world is like this. What's over there? Let's go. What's over there? Let's go. Oh, that seems interesting. Let's go. All 5 elements, the whole thing. So imagine me just giving you 5 things and I just rearrange them. And you say, yep, 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 like that. And I say to you, why? They're just 5 things. If you understand these 5 things, they have no reality of their own. They're not the final reality. It's like messing with the stuff of your dream. That you start to dream, and then you're like, oh, here's a dream. So let me, wow, mountain, wow, cuisines, wow, ship, there's all these people, wow. The whole thing is just material coming out of whom? You. Where is the material not? Right? Where is the material not, which doesn't belong to you? The whole thing is just you. Therefore, understanding this, the person changes their relationship to the world because they're just playing with material which has no existence apart from you, from the one reality. Now, if you kind of have this little issue, like when I say you, all I really mean is if there's one reality here, then you have to be that reality. This thing has to be that reality. The glasses have to be that reality. Everything has to be that reality. So you can't exclude yourself. That's all I mean when I say you are the reality. I'm not referring just to your body. I'm referring to really the whole thing, because everything is one reality. Obtaining as many because of Mayopadi, because of 5 elements. Okay, so the first step that we have to do is as I said, reduce this pratibhasika. Okay, now we go back to pratibhasika. What is pratibhasika? Subjectivities, biases. So as long as I'm living in now that the jiva has come, we said the jiva firstly starts out with pratibhasika, prejudices, biases, opinions about the world, about myself, about you, about me, about the country, about the present. This is how most jivas start. In fact, what is most of the discussions today about? Which politician is saying what about the other? Right? The whole thing is just pratibhasika, opinions. So first thing we have to understand, where is my pratibhasika right now operating? Because one notion of pratibhasika can be enough for you to ignore a certain reality, to ignore the world. So first one looks into one's own subjectivities, to reduce them, to come down to the level of the vyavaharika. And what is the vyavaharika? The world. That's why we have the world here. And then I start to inquire into the nature of the world. That's the order. Okay? Because as I said, if you're at the level of the snake, okay? Your level at the snake, that's subjectivities. And I don't see the world, then I'm never going to begin inquiring into the rope. And I need to inquire into the rope to get to the intelligence, to get to Sat and Chit. Suppose that you don't clear up your subjectivities. What happens then if you don't clean up your subjectivities?
You just stay there.
What kind of an effect does it have in your world? Let's talk like down to earth, real life. What about complaints, complaining, criticizing? Complaining and criticizing, things are not good enough. Things should be better. Entitlement. You know this? Entitlement? Kids get born, give me everything. Hey, I deserve. Really? You deserve? Entitlement. Judgments. Unfair treatment. So many problems stem from this pratibhasika. When it comes to pratibhasika, there's several things you can do. The first thing is when something comes up, right? You can say, firstly, acknowledge it. This has come up. That's the first step. I acknowledge. This is my stuff right now. And then I say, so how much, of this stuff is really mine, of my own story, and how much is it really keeping with reality? And now, can I relook at the situation? Can I reframe the situation and look at it in the light of what actually happened and recognize where am I adding my own stories? Like, where is that part when I'm embellishing it with my own colors, with my own stories? That's one thing we can do. So we can look at our experience and see where am I being unfair right now? Where am I being unfair? Where am I adding my stuff? And what is really, really true? The second thing you can do is not victimizing other people. Because to victimize others, right, and kind of feel sorry for them, what is the person really doing when I victimize, like I point fingers and I blame, like the world? I blame other people for my stuff, or I make them into a victim.
Yourself.
You victimize yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. Because to victimize other people, what does it say about me, the one who's victimizing? It shows a certain standpoint where I'm operating from. It shows a certain insecurity that's operating in me. And the fastest way to boost oneself's spirit up is how? Find something, find a flaw in the other person and live from that point of view. Find a flaw. It's like the person has so many good qualities. Hey, out of all of the good qualities, I find a flaw and I say, you see, they're not good. They're not a good person. I'm so relieved now, because I don't want them to be above me. So I have to find a flaw so that I feel above them. That's my own insecurity. So every time we victimize other people, and we are not only destroying their aspirations. Imagine this. There's a motivated, ambitious person, and they have goals in life. And now comes and we say, you are not a great whatever, you're not a great person. And this person may not have the backup to stand on their own 2 feet. You destroy someone else's life. You scar them for the rest of their life. How much papam is that going to you? I hope a lot, right? And also for me, I hope a lot. That's why I'm afraid to violate dharma for my sake, because I know it's going to come back to me. So we don't victimize because it is not fair to the individual, and it also reinforces my sense of inadequacy about myself, about yourself.
If someone has flaw, then how to deal with it?
If someone has a flaw. So suppose you want to point out something because you're clear and you kind of have some maturity that they are yet to arrive to. Remember Yudhishthir? He just kept on allowing Duryodhana to keep on, right, doing his little flaws, like one after the other after the other. He never got the courage to say no, right? He was just being so generous, so kind, that he did almost the opposite effect. And so if someone has a flaw, first time you're not quite sure if it is a flaw. So maybe just wait. Wait for them to show a pattern. And if there's a certain pattern that you see that is being destructive, then you have a choice. You can either not say anything, but then again, you have to, because that's making a statement about you, right? I didn't have the courage to say something to the other person. So then you have to deal with that. Because for every action, there's a reaction. So whether I communicate it or not, either way, I have to deal with it. The second thing one can do is we can go and say, hey, now language is very important here. And one of the things they say is before giving feedback, always start with the things that you notice that are nice about them, right? Some good qualities. And say, hey, look, I noticed that you have, a nice, you're very concerned about this work environment. And I really honor that about you because it means you care. However, I also noticed that this is just my observation, by the way. So he said, it's just so you don't make it about you, right? This is my observation. I noticed that, there's a little bit of a tension that people feel a little bit afraid that you're too strict. They say you're too strict about the work schedule or being on time. So you kind of just mention that, and then you give them a chance to open up. Because what we usually do is we give feedback and we walk away. Yeah. No, we give feedback and they say, what do you have to say about this? For those who have asked me over the email, whenever I give them my email, I say, let me know your thoughts on this. Right? So I never close the thread. I leave the thread open. And therefore, if I let you have an opinion, it also gives me feedback how I did trying to give you feedback. So now we both get helped.
Can pratibhasika, the imprints that you come from your previous, like you explained, Raj in your previous life, Andre now, there are certain things that come with you.
Of course.
In pratibhasika, if you have the tendency to criticize somebody all the time, can that be classed as something that's come with you as a vasana? Yeah, it's hard to tell. We can't quantify what we have taken from past life to what we have developed in this life. Because, see, as kids, we don't remember often our history. And we could have seen our mom or dad constantly being strict towards our mom, or telling our mom
kind of, making her life a little bit, in one place. And we learned, well, this is what love means. To love someone is to be dominating, is to be, putting them in their place. And so I come and I meet someone and I say, hey, I see that things are not quite according to my fancies here. So I start being critical about her behavior because this is what I learned from my own parents. So whether it came or whether you developed it, it's hard to say. But as I said yesterday, the most things that we can do is understand this is a pattern. This pattern is true. Do I want to change it? And is it in my interest to change it? And if I change it, what are the repercussions? If I don't change it, what are the repercussions 5 years from now? Can I see that? So if it's causing a conflict now, it's likely going to intensify 5 years from now. It doesn't fix by itself. In fact, right now is your best feedback. So therefore, it becomes a feedback loop for the individual to make a change in their life. Whenever something happens, there are 4 possibilities. You can either get exactly what you want, you can get opposite to what you want, you can get more to what you want, or less than what you wanted. So if I'm only operating from the standpoint of I'm going to get what I want, or I get more than I want, suppose there's only 2 options, then what kind of a life are you? You're giving 50% of chance to be disappointed. So even if you do something good, getting the bus, and I get the bus exactly on time, I got exactly what I wanted. I cross the road and the bus comes, but it's late 10 minutes to work. I still got what I wanted, but I got less than I wanted. I cross the road, no, actually I don't cross the road, I slip on a banana peel and I break my head. Opposite to what I wanted. Or I cross the road and a gentleman with a sports car offers me a ride. We get there 10 minutes early. I got more than I wanted. These are the 4 truths of life. If I discount them, then I'm only operating from one or the other. And how can you have a possible equanimous mind when these 4 situations are confronting you every single day? Therefore, by knowing the reality of life, we gain composure, we gain a certain strength, a resilience, that life is not supposed to give me only what I want, only more than I want. It's very much allowed to give me totally opposite than what I wanted, and less than what I wanted. If you add these 2, it gives you certain resilience when the situations are not working out as you wanted them. This is a fact of life. So that was verse 36. The reason I skipped verse 32 to 35 is it includes all of the other verses. Okay, next verse is verse 37. Oh, wait a minute, I didn't say the Sanskrit for verse 36, did I? Okay, I'll say it now. Jivaha dhihi asti chidabhasaha bhavet bhokta hi karmakrit bhogya rupam idam sarvam jagat syat bhuta bhautikam. So jiva is consciousness identified with the buddhi. That's what a jiva is. And it participates in the 5 elements which become the objects of enjoyment for the jiva. So next verse, verse 37. Anadi kalam arabhya mokshat purvam idam dvayam vyavahare stitam tasmat ubhayam vyavaharikam. So it's talking here in the next verse that both the jiva and the jagat are what we call anadi. Anadi means there was never a time when they began. Now, if you look at anything in the universe, right, you can't find a beginning to anything in this universe. For example, take time. Suppose you say time was created. Time was created when? When was time created? In time. You see this? If time was created in time, that means time was already there. So time, you can't create time, because for time to get created, it means it was created in time. So therefore, that's why we say nothing in the universe is ever created. It was already there, where? in potential. Now, what does potential mean? Potential means, for example, an egg. Now, this egg is interesting because, we eat eggs, and well, some of us, and it has a fluid. And this fluid is made in such a way that it's capable of giving life form. But you will never discover that until that potential, the variables are just right for that potential to take place. You have to hold the egg under a certain temperature and don't move the egg. If I move the egg and I put it to too cold or too hot, you will never see that potential come out. So it's not like the chicken never existed. The chicken existed in potential. You just had to give it the right environment for that potential to ensue. Or you look at a volcano, you say, wow, that's a dormant volcano. But the potential for that volcano to activate itself, the potential is very much there. You just have to wait for the right circumstances and see this amazing release of lava. Okay? Or you take, for example, thunder. You see clouds, right? And it's like a dark day. And you say, well, where's the lightning? The lightning is not there because the variables are not right. Therefore, we have to wait for the variables, the two clouds, to converge and that friction to generate lightning. You look at a seed, right? As I said, the seed has potential for a tree, complex life form of intelligence that's capable of giving other birds and species their life. And you crumble the seed and you see nothing inside. And yet this seed, you don't see a tree inside the seed. You don't see the mangoes. You don't see anything. You just see powder. And you look this powder under a microscope. What are you going to find? Atoms like anywhere else. And yet the atoms are arranged in such a way, or shall we say the 5 elements are arranged in such a way that they're capable of giving a particular kind of tree. Not just one kind of, a mango tree. And even within the mango tree, there is an intelligence to give different varieties of mango trees. We have Kent mangoes. We have honey gold mangoes. And that is just for the mango tree. Never mind the apple tree, the oak tree, the pine tree. All of this potential inside one single seed, a signature for what is about to come. I just have to give it the right variables, put it into the ground, water it, and it's programmed in such a way that it needs to be watered for a length of time in a certain kind of soil. If you put it in the wrong soil, the potential doesn't go. If you put it in just the right soil with the right texture, the right fertility, it grows. The right rain, it grows. Therefore, the seed has connection to the soil has connection to the rains has connection to the clouds have connection to obviously the water which evaporates into the clouds, and that water which evaporates connection to the sun because of whose heat it evaporates, and the sun has a connection to helium and hydrogen, which is nothing but nuclear fission, making that sun constantly explode and generate a temperature in such a way that it's aligned from or distanced from the earth with the right distance, that it's neither too hot nor too cold for a thing like a seed, which is governed by the same intelligence that has separated the sun and the earth just the right length. And this intelligence for billions of years moves this earth around an orbit around the sun, and never does the earth come closer or farther away from the sun. Could you do this? These are big bodies we're talking about, a star and a planet, never closer or farther away, constantly the same orbit, same distance. This is a mind-boggling intelligence that allows or facilitates this kind of possibility throughout the entire universe. And that same intelligence allows the conception of a human being. An egg is waiting for the sperm. And the sperm knows where to go. It doesn't veer off into some random place. It knows where to look. And when it attaches to the egg, then the whole process, the embryo starts, the fetus, right, into eventually, a fully grown baby. And that same intelligence then facilitates how the baby will continue to grow. What kind of a shape, what kind of a look, what kind of a fingerprint, what kind of an eye. Not one eye, not one fingerprint is the same since billions of years.
It's the same intelligence that our human body arranges the whole process in our body. So is the universe not one big human body, or not microscopically small universe? Isn't it all the same?
Yeah, it's
little, but it's much bigger.
So it's the one same intelligence in reference to your body, it makes your body. One same intelligence in reference to the fish, it makes the fish. One same intelligence in reference to gold makes the gold. So it's the same intelligence that's rearranging itself differently in reference to different forms. So the question is, someone also recently said, see, in science, we often say the space is expanding. It's not that space is expanding, it's that planets are moving farther away. If space is expanding, that means the space suddenly ends. If space suddenly ends, and that means this universe is like a big globe that is within another space. So if it's, you understand? Because you can't have one globe like just there. That means it's in space. So there's no such thing as ending of the space. It's just infinite in all directions. So we cannot fathom this because infinity is, beyond our comprehension. Yeah, sure. What's there is the same 5 elements that are here, just rearranged differently. Yeah. Right? So if you want to take the atomic model, atoms rearranging themselves in different combinations and permutations to build different forms. So this means I don't have to fly off into the universe in order to see what's over there. What's going to be over there? Same 5 elements, just in a much kind of a, exuberant, flamboyant, colorful manner. So this means the journey for exploration, Vedanta helps you to stop that, right? That means if an alien comes down and they say, we come from an advanced civilization, I'm just going to say, I'm not interested in what you have to say because I've got the Vedas, and the Vedas shows me that whatever is here now, which is matter, it's also over there. You just have a different kind of combinations of matter. Therefore, your whole journey for world exploration, this stops. We have an example. So right now, someone is dreaming. For them, from their standpoint, they're in a totally different world. For us, we're in this world. For that person is genuinely in their world. So like that, and an ant right now, you think their world is the same as ours? They have 2D vision. They see a tree as something majestic. For them, the world is, because an ant is also a jiva, remember? We're not the only species here. So for the ant, it's technically living in a different loka, in a different universe, because of their vision and because of their size. So it's worlds within worlds within worlds within worlds, not only in this world, but also in other lokas, which the Vedas talks about, which we don't have access to. But that's where we have to take the word of the Vedas. Yeah. So the most scientists can do is explore this physical space and time. But there is worlds in whom, right, we are not able to access because we are locked to this physical space and time. Therefore, you're only exploring a minuscule of the total. The premise was here that both Jiva and Jagat are beginningless because it's a cycle that goes like this. Okay? It's a cyclical cycle. So it's always going in a circle, as though a circle, not actually a circle. So that's why it is beginningless. In the Western model, we have, right, it begins and it ends. And that's why you have these questions, what came first? The chicken or the egg? Cuckoo question, right? So not only is physical beginningless, that means it was never created, it was just there in potential, but also we have the subtle body was also beginningless, because you can't exclude your eye sense. It's also matter. So one time there was a clairvoyant, and she said to her patient, you know what, I'm going to tell you when your soul was created. Very interesting question. Like, and you're like, yeah, tell me, when was I created? Tell me, when did I suddenly come into existence? And she says, you know, your soul was created in 1856. It's like, wow. Now, first of all, how is this practical in the real world, right? Second of all, you cannot prove that. So what Vedanta says is your soul was never created. Because, look at this, the logic is, what is a soul refer to? The subtle body, specifically the subtle body. In Vedanta, we don't use the word soul, subtle body. So when your subtle body, if it was created, it comes with inclinations. For it to come with inclinations implies there was the presence of that soul, that subtle body before, in which, right, those inclinations were developed. The second reason is, if nobody gave you those inclinations, suppose you were just randomly assigned these inclinations, randomly. I'm going to be really rude and not listen and all of this other stuff, right? Now the question is, who gave you this? God? That makes God a sadist. I'm going to give you qualities that are going to be existentially worrying. They're going to be concerning for the society. They're going to be those qualities that produce problems in the world. So for one person, God gave beautiful qualities. Another person, tremendous qualities. And then God, being a sadist, creates a troublemaker and puts it right in there of all of these good people. And God eats his popcorn. Wow, that's awesome, right? This is nonsense. So this is why we don't have this thing as created for the first time. Otherwise, then you have to start to ask. Then if it was created, then if it's got issues, if it's going to cause problems in the world, then naturally the creator is responsible. Now, if that creator is responsible, then how can I trust that creator to give me moksha? Because if that creator gave me random qualities of A, Z, and Y, right? Just randomly said, you're going to have quality A, quality Z, and quality Y. And someone else is going to have quality P, quality Q, and quality S. So this means that no matter what I do in this world, then God is going to say, well, I don't like you. I'm going to give this person moksha, not you. Therefore, that's why we say it's completely predictable order here, a completely predictable. That's why it's infallible order which you can trust. How do you trust this order? Because if you do X, you expect Y. And you know exactly, if I want to accomplish Y, what do I have to do? X. Because you already understand and trust this cause-effect relationship. So it's inbuilt. The trust is already inbuilt. We're just bringing it out in Vedanta. Similarly, if one comes up to you with a black eye, first question you ask is, what happened? Therefore, you want to trace a cause to the effect. So we understand that there is a predictable order here. You wake up without worrying that the gravity is going to disappear tomorrow. You have trust. So it's trust from all the way. And that order is what's called Ishvara. So this means if we follow the program, then we can trust that this knowledge will take place. It can take place if you work hard at it. It's a trust. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.